one page ended their inheritance. The page was dated the 15th of March, 1989, and it was written in their grandfather's steady hand.
Listen to this. Evelyn told me the truth tonight. I have not slept. Grandpa's journal. What else does it say? She has confirmed what I suspected. I can barely say it.
Patrick is not my biological son. Mia slammed the journal shut, but the words were already burned into their minds. The real horror was the inheritance. For 17 years, their grandfather's will had promised them a future. Now, with one sentence, that future was dust. The other 59 journals lined the shelf, each a record of a day in Matthew's life. But this one day, this one page, had undone everything.
What do we do now?
They had no answer. And that silence would follow them out of the study, heavier than any journal. The day before, the twins arrived at Matthew's house to pack. Inside, the study held a lifetime of papers.
Girls, start with the boxes near the desk. Anything I haven't touched in years goes to the donation pile.
Grandpa, what are these? They're all leather-bound, and there must be dozens. They're journals. Each one has a year on the spine. 1965, 1966. There are over 60 of them.
Those are private. I've kept a journal every day since I was 22.
The twins exchanged a look. They had never seen a life mapped out so completely, and curiosity took over.
Can we read some? Please, Grandpa. We promise to be careful.
They're not stories for entertainment, but, I suppose, just one at a time.
He had no idea they would eventually read the one volume he had forgotten about. And so, with Matthew's permission, they began reading, not yet knowing what one journal held. Mia reached for the 1965 journal first. The leather was cracked, the pages yellowed, but Matthew's handwriting was as sharp as the day he wrote it.
Today I started as a junior editor. The pay is almost nothing, but Evelyn says she believes in me. He was so young when he married Evelyn. Look at how he describes her.
Evelyn told me, "We are going to have a child. I have never known such joy."
I feel like we're trespassing, but I can't stop reading. He gave us permission. That has to mean something.
Matthew watched from his armchair, his face unreadable. Patrick took his first steps today. Evelyn cried, and I think I did too.
He loved being a father. You can feel it in every word.
They read on through the 1970s and into the 1980s, unaware that the 1 year they had not yet touched would change everything. The 1970s passed in a blur of milestones and quiet ambitions, but as they reached the mid-1980s, a change crept into the pages.
The handwriting isn't as steady here. Look at 1986. The letters are tighter, like he was holding back. And he's barely mentioning Evelyn anymore. When he does, it's just, he saw the doctor, or E&P visited. No warmth.
Something has shifted between us. I can feel it, but I cannot name it.
This doesn't sound like the same man. What happened to them?
The study grew cold around them. Mia traced her finger down a page that ended mid-sentence, as if he couldn't finish the thought.
We should skip ahead. This is feeling wrong, and I want to know what it's all leading to.
They closed the volume and scanned the shelf. 1987, 1988, 1989. The spine of the 1989 journal seemed to wait for them.
Let's just open it to the middle. Whatever he was hiding, we need to see it now.
The clock on the mantel ticked louder than it ever had. Some doors, once opened, cannot be shut. Mia pulled the 1989 journal from the shelf and opened it to the middle. The pages fell open to a marked spot. The date at the top was the 15th of March, 1989. The ink was slightly smeared, as if he had cried on it.
She told me tonight? I have known the truth for months, but to hear it aloud. What truth? What is he talking about?
Evelyn confessed her affair, and she told me Patrick is not my biological son.
Number, it can't be. He says he chose to stay. He chose to raise Dad as his own.
The room spun. The inheritance they had always assumed was theirs had just collapsed into a single, devastating truth. They didn't need to say it. Everything they had been promised was never legally automatic, and in the silence, they stared at each other, the journal between them, the weight of a secret that could destroy their family. They left the study without a word, the journal hidden inside Mia's bag. In their old bedroom, they finally turned to face each other.
We have to tell Dad. He deserves to know the truth about who he is. And destroy him? Grandpa kept this secret for 3 decades to protect him. You want to unravel that? What about our inheritance? If this gets out, we lose everything. It gets out only if we tell someone. Grandpa obviously never will. Maybe it's not even real. People write dramatic things in journals that aren't true. He wrote about the affair, the dates, the confession. No one invents something that specific.
The argument hung between them, raw and unresolved. Mia wiped her eyes, and Sophia stared at the floor.
Fine. We don't tell Dad, but we need to know more. There could be another entry that explains it all.
They agreed to search the next volumes tomorrow. Until then, the secret would stay locked between them. The next morning, they slipped back into the study before Matthew woke. The lamp still glowed from the night before.
Here, 1990. He must have written something after that night.
They flipped through the months, searching for any echo of March 1989. The pages blurred under their fingers.
Wait, listen. The 30th of September, 1989. I held Patrick tonight and knew I would never let him go.
He is not my blood, but he is my son. I choose him. I will never let him doubt that.
He chose to be his father. It wasn't just about staying with Evelyn. This changes everything. It wasn't a secret he just kept. It was a deliberate, wrenching decision.
For a long moment, neither spoke. The empty armchair behind them seemed to radiate the weight of 30 years unspoken.
But the inheritance, if he's not biological, it doesn't matter what he chose. The law won't care.
They sat in the silence, the journal open between them, love and law colliding in the dim amber light. They left the study, but the truth sat between them like a third person. All day, they avoided Matthew's eyes. That evening, as the sun sank and the study lamp flickered on, they found him in his armchair.
Grandpa, we need to talk about something we found. She held up the 1989 journal. We read some of the journals.
The gold-embossed 1989 caught the lamplight. A silent question neither of them could voice.
He looked up from his book. He didn't flinch. His eyes moved to the journal, then back to them.
We read the entry from March 15th. Her voice cracked on the date. Is it true? Is Dad really not? She could not finish.
Sit down, girls. His voice was quiet, nothing in it but years.
They sat on the edge of the sofa, the journal open between them, their hands trembling. He did not deny it.
Yes, it's true. I wrote that entry on the worst night of my life. I have never spoken it aloud.
The twins exchanged a horrified glance. It was worse than they imagined. He wasn't going to deny it or explain it away.
What about the inheritance? We were promised a future. If Dad isn't legally your son?
Look in the top drawer. There's something you need to see.
Sophia walked to the desk and pulled out a heavy document, the seal unbroken. She handed it to him. The paper was thick, official, dated 2010.
This is my last will and testament. I had it drawn up years ago.
What does it say? Are we still in it? Are we even your real grandchildren? We need to know what it means for us.
Before you read it, you must understand something.
He set the will on the table between them, unopened. The lamp flickered slightly. He opened the will. I appoint my son, Patrick. The legal language was precise, but the intent was unmistakable.
He's your son, legally. You made sure of it.
I had a lawyer draft it that way. No biological technicality can challenge it.
You chose him. All these years, you chose to be his father.
Evelyn was filled with remorse. But I looked at that baby, and I knew. He was mine. I never wanted Patrick to feel less than. He is my son in every way that matters.
The twins wept. The inheritance they feared was lost was secure, but the weight of his sacrifice pressed down on them.
It was never about the inheritance, was it? It was about Dad.
It was about family, and I chose mine.
A single tear traced the lines of his face. Catching the lamplight, Matthew wiped his cheek and picked up a small frame from the side table. He held it so they could see.
Evelyn and I, the day Patrick was born, she wrote letters of regret for years. I burned them, but I kept her.
He set the photo down next to the open journal. The pen beside it was dry, untouched for years.
Did you ever think of telling the truth to Dad? Or to anyone?
It would have served no one. Patrick needed a father, not a stranger's name.
He gestured toward the shelf of journals, his hand steady despite the hour.
I wrote it all down because silence was unbearable. But I never thought anyone would read it. I forgot that journal existed.
Why didn't you destroy it then? If you forgot it, you could have just burned that one.
Because it was the truth. I have never hidden from truth.
They sat in the silence of that admission, the lamplight carving lines into their young faces, the weight of his words settling between them.
You have read the truth. Now you must decide what becomes of it.
Mia clutched the journal to her chest, sobs shaking the pages. Sophia stared at the floor, unable to meet his eyes.
You are saying we can choose? What happens to the journal, to the secret?
Burn that volume. Burn all 60. Keep them. I will not decide for you.
We can't just erase your life, Grandpa. But we can't let Dad find out either.
He turned his chair slowly toward the window, his face no longer visible. He would not push them.
We need time. We'll come back in the morning.
They rose together, the journal held between them like a fragile truce, and walked out of the study. The weight of what they now carried was heavier than any book on that shelf. The clock on the mantel began to tick again, marking the seconds of their impossible choice. That night, in their old bedroom, the weight of the decision finally snapped the fragile silence they had carried home.
We have to burn them all, Sophia. Every single one. It's the only way to protect Dad. Burn 60 years of his life. You'd erase everything Grandpa was. I'd erase the lie, not the life. You think one bad entry doesn't poison the rest? And what about the other 59? The ones where he loved our dad, where he held him. They won't matter if someone finds this one. Dad will question everything. So you'd rather him never know the man who chose him. You are not protecting him. You are burying the proof. And you are not protecting Grandpa's wish at all. He said our father never needed to know. I care about both of them. That's the difference.
The argument collapsed into a heavy silence, neither willing to yield, the journal lying between them like a wound. The silence stretched until Sophia's voice barely broke it, a whisper that cut the dark.
What if we just burned the one? Only 1989. Nothing else. Just that confession. Only the one? You think that's enough? No one would ever know but us? It's the only one that could hurt Dad. The rest are just love. Decades of it. Maybe you are right. After everything, maybe that one page is the only poison. We erase the secret, not the man. That's what he asked us to carry.
Her hand found Sophia's in the dark, and the pact settled between them.
Then we'll tell Grandpa in the morning. We'll do it together and it will be done. Together. We'll burn 1989 and keep the rest. He'll never have to know the truth.
The decision was made, but the secret was now theirs to carry always, and the weight settled into their bones. The next morning, the twins found Matthew in his armchair, the window casting pale morning light on his weathered hands. The 1989 journal was in Sophia's grip.
Grandpa, we made a decision. We want to burn the 1989 journal. Only that one.
Only that volume, you are certain.
Yes, the rest of you stays. We won't erase your life.
Matthew's eyes glistened, but his voice was steady as he answered.
That is enough. I am grateful you chose to keep the others, but I would like to be there when it happens. I want to see it go.
The request hung in the air, a final witness to the truth he had carried alone for 30 years. The twins nodded together, and the weight of what came next settled over them. They helped him rise from the chair, and together they walked toward the garden, where the fire pit waited. The garden fire pit crackled softly. Matthew sat beside it, the 1989 journal open on his lap, the afternoon sun fading. Mia knelt and took the journal. She looked at Matthew, then at Sophia, and tore the first page free. She dropped the page into the flames. The ink curled and blackened within seconds, the words vanishing into smoke. Page after page, she fed the fire, the leather cover growing lighter in her hands. When only the cover remained, she set it aside. The fire crackled, consuming the last fragments. Matthew's face was lit by the glow, a single tear tracing the lines of his cheek. Sophia stood beside him and held his hand, her own fingers trembling.
Now it's just a memory.
The twins wept, but there was no regret, only release. The empty journal cover lay at their feet, but the truth it held had already moved inside them, where no flame could reach. A few weeks later, the boxes were unpacked in a new room at Willow Creek Assisted Living. The 59 journals sat on a shelf by the window, their spines gleaming in the afternoon light.
We'll visit every Sunday, Grandpa. And we'll call whenever you want.
You don't have to promise that, but I'll be glad to see you.
Sophia placed his favorite pen on the nightstand, in case you want to write something new.
Matthew sat by the window, the light soft on his face. He reached for Sophia's hand and held it.
I am ready, not just for this place, for whatever comes next.
The twins didn't answer. They didn't need to. The secret they held was safe, and so was he. When they left, the room was quiet, the journals catching the last light of day. And for the first time in weeks, the weight on their shoulders felt just a little lighter. 4 months later, Matthew passed quietly in his sleep. The call came on a Tuesday morning at the funeral. Mia and Sophia stood side by side, their hands clasped, their faces mirrors of the same grief. Patrick stood a few feet away, his eyes red, his shoulders hunched. He knew nothing of the secret. The minister spoke of a man who had loved his family beyond measure. Only the twins knew how much that love had cost him.
He kept it to the end, not a word to anyone. So do we now. It's just us.
The coffin was lowered, and the last truth about Matthew's bloodline disappeared into the earth. Later, in the empty study, the journal shelf held 59 silent witnesses. The gap where 1989 should have been was a promise kept. Patrick never learned. The twins never spoke of it. And the weight of the secret became the foundation on which they built the rest of their lives. But that story belongs to a different chapter, one they would never write down. 5 years later, in a university lecture hall, the twins sat in the third row as a professor discussed the ethics of memoir. Some truths belong to families, not to the public, the professor said. Knowing which is which separates a journalist from a gossip.
We know a truth that would make a Pulitzer Committee weep, and we will never write a word of it.
After class, they sat in the campus coffee shop, surrounded by open laptops and half-finished essays.
We could write a hell of a story, the ultimate family secret memoir. It would change everything. Which is exactly why we will never write it. Some stories aren't yours to tell. I know. It's just ironic. We'll spend our lives telling other people's truths while guarding our own like a vault. That's the deal we made. It's the foundation of everything we do.
They clinked their coffee cups, a silent toast to the grandfather who had taught them that some truths are best kept in the heart. And that pact, sealed in a college coffee shop, would guide their careers and bind them together for the rest of their lives. 10 years later, Mia and Sophia took the stage to accept the National Magazine Award for feature writing. Their piece, a deep dive into a family's unspoken history, had captivated the country. In an interview afterward, a journalist asked them how they chose such intimate subjects.
We understand that every family has a locked drawer. Some are literal, some are just in the heart. And some stories are too personal to ever print. That's what makes them powerful, the silence.
The journalist nodded, unaware of the locked cabinet in their shared office, where 59 leather journals rested. The gap where 1989 should have been was a daily reminder of their pact, a secret no one would ever read. When the twins left the interview, they exchanged a glance, a silent recognition of the ghost who had taught them everything.
He would have been proud. He never wanted glory, just love. And that's what we protect.
And so they continued, telling the world's secrets, but keeping their own locked away, right where Matthew had left it. Years later, they came back to the old house one last time before the sale. The study was bare, but the shelf still held 59 leather-bound journals. The gap, where 1989 should have been felt like a held breath. Sophia ran her fingers across the spines. Each year was a whisper of his voice, the ink still sharp after all these years. His glasses still rested on top of the stack, as if he had just stepped out for a moment.
He chose us even before we were born. He chose Dad before Dad could walk, before we were even a thought. He chose family over biology. That's the whole story, isn't it? And we've honored it.
They stood in the quiet for a long moment, the dust motes dancing in the afternoon light. Then, without a word, they turned and walked out, leaving the journals exactly where they belonged. The gap on the shelf remained, a silent testament to a love that erased everything else. And outside, the world kept turning. But inside that room, a father's choice endured. The shelf held 59 journals, spines worn, years etched in gold. But the eye always went to the gap where 1989 used to be. It was the only empty space that ever mattered, a missing note in a symphony of years. The spines marched in order, decades of ordinary days. That single absence was the loudest truth in the room. Matthew's glasses still rested on the stack, as if he had only paused his writing to look up and see them. He wrote every day of his adult life. The 1 year he never meant anyone to read taught his granddaughters more than any lesson. Mia and Sophia never wrote that story, but every article they published carried its echo, a testament to the power of what remains unsaid. Some secrets are not meant to be told. They are meant to be honored. And in that quiet study, with the door closed, they were. The light faded. The dust settled, and the silence held.